Beyblade has always been about pushing the limits of what's possible in battle. But unlike other games where strategy alone can determine the winner, Beyblade requires more of a delicate balance between shape, size, but most importantly, weight. Because of this, competitive formats had to be created, leading to one of the most popular and widely played format called the Metal Fight Limited format. To give some context, the Metal Fight Beyblade anime had 3 seasons, called Metal Fusion, which was the first season, Metal Masters, the second, and lastly, Metal Fury, the third. The Metal Fight Limited format only allowed fusion wheels from the first 2 seasons of Beyblade due to the massive weight gap introduced in Metal Fury. That's because in the 3rd season of Beyblade, Metal Fury had a game-changing innovation that introduced a new iteration of fusion wheels called the 4D fusion wheels. Unlike traditional fusion wheels, the 4D wheels were split into 2 separate components called the frame and the core. This allowed for intricate mode changes, shifting between multiple modes and or altering weight distribution. With these advancements, it also naturally increased the weight of the wheels. The average 4D fusion wheel would eventually weigh around 43 grams on average, with the highest being at 51 grams, which would significantly weigh heavier than the 34 average gram wheels that defined the Metal Fight Limited format. And to maintain balance, all 4D wheels were banned in the Metal Fight Limited format, only being legal in a separate format of its own called the 4D format. But what if I told you that one 4D fusion wheel was thought to perform so poorly in the 4D format that it was actually unbanned and allowed in a Metal Fight Limited format? Well, this is the story of the 4D fusion wheel called Jade. Now, before we dive deeper, let's first cover the Jade fusion wheel. The Jade wheel was pretty unique, with it featuring 4 metal balls on its frame, which actually affected its performance heavily. The Jade fusion wheel also had 2 modes, utilizing the 4D feature called Attack and Defense. In Attack mode, the bottom frame of the wheel sticks out, giving it a more aggressive shape. And in this mode, the metal balls are also able to move freely, which in battle, the centrifugal force forces the metal balls to extend towards the outer edge of the wheel, which gives it more balance and exerts more force outwards. In defense mode, the metal core is tucked under the frame and the metal balls are actually locked in place, giving it a more stern balance. Now, let's talk about why it was bad in the 4D format. You see, in the 4D format, there were already dominant forces in the meta. You had fusion wheels like Flash, the ultimate attack wheel, Diablo, the heaviest fusion wheel that can be intertwined between being a defense and or an attack wheel, and wheels like Duo/Death, which had the ultimate mix between defense and stamina. These wheels were basically the Exodia of the format. If you weren't using these wheels, you were basically considered trolling. These fusion wheels also weighed typically higher than the average 4D fusion wheels, while the Jade fusion wheel weighed at a staggering 39.2 grams. Unfortunately, even with Jade having multiple features, the low weight couldn't support its defensive endeavors, nor back up its attack potential. This ultimately led the Jade fusion wheel having no place in the 4D format. Luckily, the Jade fusion wheel found its place in the Metal Fight Limited format, where it was eventually allowed, being the heaviest wheel you can use in the format, with the wheels averaging 34 grams while Jade at 39. By the way, if you guys like these type of videos, please consider subscribing. We are so close to 100k and I would love to be able to hit it this year. Once Jade was legalized in this format, a new era of experimentation began. Players dove into its mechanics, determined to unlock every secret it held. Then, as if emerging from the shadows, they uncovered a hidden ability within Jade's intricate wheel. A special feature that had long been overlooked in the 4D format due to its low usage. But before we hop onto the next segment, let me tell you about Beyhaven and BeyLocker. BeyLocker is the #1 place to get Beyblade X parts, which is the newest generation of Beyblade for either competitive or casual play. But if you're looking to get Metal Fight Beyblades like the one in this video, Beyhaven is the place to go. Beyhaven has all types of Metal Fight Beyblades from Season 1 to Season 3, as well as a parts section to build your own Beyblade. Some Beyblades get sold out pretty quick, but don't worry, Beyhaven restocks every Friday at exactly 12 AM EST. Check out these 2 sites for all Beyblade interests. Now, back to the video. The Jade wheel was classified as a defensive wheel upon release, but unknowingly, the bottom of the wheel had a hidden ability where it was extremely high in recoil, which eventually led people to start experimenting with attack builds. This led players to utilize Jade as an attacker, but specifically a down smash attacker. They utilized a pretty uncommon spin track called Armor 230, which is also the tallest spin track in the game, as well as it being supported by the rubber flat tip. Overall, the down smash attack build was an extremely uncommon strategy in competitive Beyblade, as most Beyblades wanted to be relatively low in height. But some meta-dominant combos like Flame 230 and or stamina builds utilizing the bearing drive track averaged around the mid-height in the game, which Jade can heavily take advantage of as the height was perfect enough for Jade to hit them right under its wheel. Jade was also quite dominant in the defensive field as well, taking advantage of its super high weight. There were builds that utilized an extremely short track as well as the rubber sharp tip to keep it extremely stable in the center of the arena, which the short track was extremely important so the bottom portion where the high recoil was never exposed. This defensive method actually made it extremely hard for people to knock Jade out, as not only was Jade a heavy Beyblade, but the size itself was slightly larger than other Beyblades. This in turns made it a top tier defensive option for people to use. But this also came at a cost, as an authentic Jade fusion wheel was not cheap. This fusion wheel comes from the Beyblade Jade Jupiter, which you can buy used for around $200, or drop $400 for a new one. And so because of the high price points, the utilization of Jade wasn't as high as you would think. But if you were able to afford it, you'd be able to utilize some top tier combos at the cost of the high price. So what was the community's reaction to this Beyblade being legal in the Metal Fight Limited format? Well, surprisingly, unlike my other videos where usually a combo is a strain in the format, Jade was relatively well received. Jade was really good in the stat department that it performs in, but not towards the point where it was impossible to beat. It naturally fit into the Beyblade rock paper scissors system where the defensive build of Jade would lose to stamina types and where the attack build of Jade would lose to defense types. It wasn't frustrating to go against compared to other combos like Flame 230, it was just one of the top options you could utilize in the format in certain stat departments. Overall, Jade seemed to fit quite well into the format as a top tier option that required heavy upfront costs. But this is why the Metal Fight Limited format was so great. It wasn't heavily dominated by a couple parts, and it had a lot of variety where even extremely heavy parts could fit in a healthy manner. And eventually, this led to an extension of the Metal Fight Limited format, where they added new clauses that started allowing other 40 wheels that also didn't have a home in the 40 format, which also uniquely changed the meta in its own way, but that's for another video. And like always, thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys like these type of videos and want more, please consider subscribing. We are so close to 100k, and I'll see you guys in the next video.